Good evening to all. Welcome back to the TCS Academy for Competition. So, dear friends, today in this session, I will take you through an important concept in banking system. Okay, so which is a very important topic which will be considered a unique topic for all the competitive examinations, both civil services, prelims, and as well as mains examination and state level public service examinations. Okay, yeah. So, dear friends, so there are two important concepts that we need to discuss here. One is bank risks. Another one is capital adequacy ratio. Right? So these two important topics, so which comes under Basel norms. In the previous video, I have discussed the Basel 1. So in that, the Basel 1 is mainly focused on credit risk. So therefore, I am interested to know something about the credit risk. What are the different types of risks the banks, commercial banks are exposing? Okay. Yeah. So let's begin the session. Okay. The major risks of the banks, major risks of commercial banks. So basically the bank or commercial bank is exposed with the three important risks. Okay. One is credit risk, operational risk, and market risk. Okay. So dear friends, there are three important risks the banks are exposed. Among them, credit risk, operational risk, and market risk. Now let's understand these three risks of a bank in detail. What are credit risk? What do you mean by credit risk? As you know very well, a bank gives loans to the public. Correct? Bank loans are asset for the banker. Am I clarify you? Okay. Am I audible to you? Okay. Yeah. Basically, the bank is giving some loans to the customers. Correct? Loans to the customers. These loans are considered an asset for the bank because to make profit, the banker gives loans and advances to the public. Okay? Yeah. Whenever the banker is giving loans to the public, there is one important risk the bank is exposed. That is called as defaults by the borrower. Right? So basically, what is default? What is default risk? Credit risk is also known as default risk. Banks are exposed to credit risk when borrowers are unable or unwilling to repay their interest and as well as principal on its debt obligations. Is that clear? Credit risk of a bank is also known as default risk. Banks are exposed to credit risk when borrowers are unable or unwilling to repay their interest or principal on its debt obligations. There is a risk with the banker. This particular credit risk is considered as default risk. There is a default from the borrower. Borrower has taken the loan, but he is unwilling to repay the loan with interest. Okay. So that is why the banker is exposed with the risks. Basically, that is called credit risk. Is that clear? Yeah. So we have other two important risks the banks are exposed. Among them, we have a operational risk and market risk. What is operational risk? Dear friends, banks are exposed several operational risk from a varieties of sources, including technical failures, fraud, and human errors. Right? Operational risks are those risks which the bankers are exposed. Among them, due to the technical failures and fraud and human error. So these are the reasons sometimes the bankers are exposed with operational risk. Is that clear? Okay. The banks are exposed to operational risk from a varieties of sources. For example, there is a technical problem, so therefore the banker is having some risks. Right? There is a chances of incurring loss by a bank due to the technical issues. Okay, and because of the fraud, banking frauds, the banking frauds might be from different sources. The management itself is involved in banking frauds, right? And there are some human errors. So these are the basic sources from which the bankers are exposed with operational risks. Okay. So basically risk is nothing but the chances of incurring loss. Chances of incurring loss by a bank. Okay. So this is all about operational risk. Then one more important risk the bank is exposed with, that is market risk. Okay. So you might have come across the Punjab National Bank fraud recently and Yes Bank fraud last year. Okay. So due to the market volatility, okay, the bank shares goes down. Due to the market volatility, the bank shares will come down. Okay. So there arises the market risk. So market here we consider as the money market. So basically the money market volatility. And even so, due to the capital market volatility, banks are also exposed with market risk because the capital market is not functioning well. Okay, so due to some financial crisis in the country, so due to the wars in the neighboring countries, so due to the political disorder, okay, so if there is any financial issues, monetary issues, there is a bank failures. Okay, so even the recent Punjab National Bank failure, okay, the frauds and Yes Bank frauds that we had come across, sometimes due to the market volatility, the shares of the business, shares of a bank comes down. Then there is a loss for the banker. So there arises the market risk. Okay. Market volatility is nothing but the difference between the expected rate of return and actual minimum rate of return. That is called as market volatility, market risk. Okay. Expected difference between the expected rate of return and actual rate of return. Okay. Difference between these two will give rise to market risk. So these are the three important market risks which we may come across, right? Okay. So one more important concept we need to concentrate in this session, so that is called capital adequacy ratio, right? Capital adequacy ratio. That means as per the Basel norms, the adequate capital has to be maintained as reserve. How much? 8%. Adequate capital in a bank has to be maintained against the risk weighted assets. Okay, therefore, so we need to calculate the capital adequacy ratio. Okay, the capital adequacy ratio that has been prescribed by the Basel 1, it is 8%. But Reserve Bank of India, India's central bank, has prescribed at 9%. Okay, how do we calculate this particular capital adequacy ratio? So before calculating the capital adequacy ratio, so we need to calculate the risk weighted assets, because the formula to calculate the capital adequacy ratio is equal to capital divided by risk weighted assets into 100, right? Capital in the sense, this is tier 1 capital. So risk weighted assets into 100. Yeah. So now let me explain the first risk weighted assets. First we need to calculate the risk weighted assets. How do we calculate the risk weighted assets? After calculating the risk weighted assets, so this formula can be used in order to calculate a capital adequacy ratio. Clear? Yeah. Example. Let's take an example. Let's take an example here. Let's take an example. Right? A bank has been started. Starts a bank. A bank has been started. You know, so bank is limited liability company, right? Bank is a limited liability company. Suppose a bank has been started newly. Okay, so there will be let's suppose equity capital of a bank is 2 crores, right? Okay, I'm taking just imaginary numbers here. Okay, so 2 crores is the equity capital with which a bank has been started, right? This is paid up capital. Paid up capital of a bank is 2 crores. The particular bank through deposits, bank has collected, just imagine, bank has collected 100 crores. 100 crores, right? Bank has collected 100 crores through deposits. Okay, then so out of this 100 crores, bank has made some investment and loans. Just take an example. The bank has given the loan of rupees 75 crores. 75 crores. So then the question arises, why the banker has collected 100 crores through the depositors from the public? Why the bank is giving loans only 75 crores? There is a technique. That is, bank has to comply with the important regulatory norms by RBI. Correct? RBI has given regulatory norms, right? Say for example, capital reserve ratio and statutory liquidity ratio. As we have already discussed, statutory liquidity ratio has, as per the statute, as per the norms of the Reserve Bank of India, each and every commercial banks, there has to be maintained certain percentage of cash on hand always, right? That is called as statutory liquidity ratio. Say for example, statutory liquidity ratio is 5%. Okay, that means 5 crores out of 100. 5 crores out of 100. 5 crores has been kept in the form of liquid assets, ready cash, right? Okay. So there will be one more capital reserve ratio. As per the RBI statute, as per the RBI norms, each and every commercial banks, they have to maintain some percentage of cash with RBI as a reserve. Say for example, this must be 20% out of 100. Out of 100 crores, 20% means 20 crores, right? 20 crores plus 5 crores SLR, 20 crores CRR, total 25%. It is called the regulatory norms. As per the regulatory norms of the Reserve Bank of India, commercial banks is maintaining 20 crores of cash with RBI, and as per the statutory liquidity ratio, the bank has to maintain the ready cash always 5%. It's nothing but 5 crores. There 100 crores minus 25 crores, remaining is 75 crores. This 75 crores has been invested. They have given the loans to the public. Just imagine. Okay. Okay. Yes. So bank has, as I mentioned in the previous video, the bank has invested some cash out of 75 crores. Bank has invested some 25 crores. Investment has been made by the banker and 50 crores loans are given, right? So these two are assets for the bank, because on investment the banker earns dividend, correct? Banker earn dividend because banker is investing on safe securities. As I mentioned in the previous video, that the banker is investing some percentage of cash in reputed company securities and government company securities. There will be no problem at all. There will be safe. Okay, there is a safe investment gain by the banker, because the banker is dealing with the public money. That is very important. That is the reason why the banker is investing in safe securities, right? So out of 25 crores investment in safe securities, the banker is earning the dividend. Okay. Out of 50 crores loans, the banker is earning the interest, correct? Interest. Suppose dividend and interest. Dividend and interest must be of 15%. 15%. 15% of 75 crores is how much? It's 11.25 crores. So this is what we call it as profit. Bank bank's earnings out of loans and investment. Correct? 50 crores loans, 25 crores investment on safe securities. Okay, dividend and as well as the interest put together, it is 15% of 75 crores. 75 crores has been invested. Okay, investment is made on certain securities, safe securities, and the loans are given. Okay, so therefore total 75 crores, out of which 15% a return the bank is getting. Yeah. Okay, so by investing such investment activities and loans, there will be, just imagine, there will be costs. Okay, there will be costs for every activities, right? The costs or expenses by a banker for this operation, investment and loans, take an example, it must be 6 crores. 6 crores. What would be the profit? Okay, a return on investment 11.25 crores and expenditure is 6 crores. What is the bank profit? Bank profit is 5.25 crores. 5.25 crores. Is that clear? Okay. So let me explain once again. There is scenario 1 where the equity shareholders have invested some 2 crores of cash and start a bank. Okay, so the bank deposits will be 100 crores. Out of 100 crores, the banker has made some investment and gives some part of the 75 crores as loans, right? Okay. So total 75 crores out of 100 crores will be the investment. Okay. So in the form of dividend and interest, the 15% the bank has earned, right? Return is return on investment. How much investment? 75 crores. What would be the return? 11.25%. 15% of 75 crores will be 11.25 crores. So just take an example. There are some expenses in these operations. The bank incurs 6 crores expenses. 11.25 minus 6, it would be 5.25 crores will be the profit for the banker. Okay, so this is the profit for a bank while doing investment and extending loans to the public. Is that clear? Okay. Let's move on to the scenario 2. Okay. So in the second scenario, second scenario, okay. Now let us discuss here. If a bank incurs, suppose in the first scenario we could able to understand the bank earns profit of rupees 5.25 crores. If suppose banker is incurring loss of rupees 10 crores, just imagine, because of the, as we know, because of the operational risk, market risk and credit risk. So due to these risks, bank could not able to earn as expected. There will be loss of 10 crores. Okay. What would be the owner's capital? Owner's capital or equity capital? Equity capital is 2 crores, correct? Equity capital is 2 crores only. It is only just 2 crores. Right? Okay. Since the bank is limited liability company, so that this particular loss, okay, the equity capital is just 2 crores, but there will be 10 crores loss. Who is going to bear it? Okay, the bank has only 2 crores equity capital, but the bank incurs 10 crores loss. Then who is going to bear this particular loss? Who is going to bear this particular loss of rupees 10 crores? It's obviously the depositors. Okay, loss borne by depositors. Okay, obviously this loss to the depositor, because equity capital is only 2 crores, out of which they cannot able to sustain. Okay, so the depositors will be the sufferers. Okay, this loss has to be borne by the bank on the depositors, right? Okay. So therefore, if the bank has maintained adequate capital, adequate equity capital, right? Equity capital might be 20 crores or for 10 crores, no problem at all, because 10 crores loss, 10 crores equity capital is there. There will be no burden there is no burden on the depositors. Here the depositors have to bear it, because no other way, because equity capital, owner's capital is just 2 crores. So therefore 10 crores loss must be borne by the depositors. So therefore, if the bank has maintained the adequate capital of tier 1 capital, then there will be no problem. But actually the equity capital is just only 2 crores. So then suppose the bank can avoid the bankruptcy or the loss if the capital adequacy ratio, might be 10 to 12 crores, then there will be no problem, no bankruptcy. Okay, so no burden, because the bank owners, the owners of the banks can able to bear it, 10 crores, because 10 crores capital adequacy ratio will be there, so that the 10 crores loss will be there, so that no problem, bank can still continue its operations. Okay. Then the question arises, how do we calculate the risk weighted assets? These are the two scenarios. Now in the third scenario, so we are going to calculate the risk weighted asset, or risk weighted asset ratio. Okay, risk weighted asset ratio or risk weighted asset. So after finding this, we could able to calculate capital adequacy ratio, yeah, as per the formula, right? Okay, what will be the loans and investment? Loans and investment of a bank is 75 crores, right? 75 crores. Okay, so then we could able to take 1 to 3 numbers as adjustment, like a weightage, right? Weightage we have taken here 1 to 3, 1 2 3, right? 3 numbers. Suppose 75 crores has been invested. Okay, so some investment is 25 crores has been invested on safe securities and 50 crores loans, right? 50 crores loans. This is share investment on shares. government company shares, right? Okay. Now, suppose there will be low risk. There will be low risk on rupees 20 crores. 20 crores. Low risk because this particular investment, this particular 20 crores loans have been given against the collateral. There will be no problem at all. Against the collateral, the banks have extended the loans of rupees 20 crores. So that you can take the weightage for this is 1.8. 1.8. Clear? Suppose the bank is not extending only loans against the collateral, accepting some real estate document, the gold loan, real estate documents, housing loan, etc. So these are called low risk because there will be guarantee for the banker because bank has accepted certain collateral against the loans of rupees 20 crores. There will be so 1.5, 1.8 weightage. Just imagine. So it must be gold loan, it must be a housing loan, it must be mortgage loan. All these loans which are considered as secured loans. Secured loan of rupees 20 crores. So we give the weightage 1.8. Okay. So there are the loans which is considered as medium risk. Medium risk. There will be medium risks on some money called 20 crores, right? 20 crores loans of medium risk. So here also we can give 1.8 weightage. Okay. So 20 plus 20, 40 crores. So remaining, how much? Remaining high risk, high risk, high risk on the investment of rupees 35 crores, 35 crores, right? 35 crores loans are considered as unsecured loan, which are not backed with collateral. Say for example, education loan, agriculture loan, personal loan, all these categories of loans which comes under the high risk loan, right? So this weightage might be 2.8, right? Okay. Then what is the weightage total? Total weightage. So here 75 crores, right? Okay. Total weightage we need to take. Okay. Now, so there is a formula to calculate capital adequacy ratio first, right? So let me take the formula capital adequacy ratio. So this has to be calculated with the help of a formula called capital in the numerator and risk weighted assets into 100. Okay. Now tell me, what would be the capital? As I told you, this in the numerator there is a capital. It is called as tier 1 capital. Tier 1 capital. Tier 1 capital is how much? Equity capital is 2 crores. Am I correct? Okay. So now you can take the investment, you can take the loans and as well as weightage. Okay. Risk weighted assets on 20 crores is how much? 20 crores. 20 crores into 1.8, correct? Plus again 20 crores into 1.8. You can refer the previous slide. 1.8 is the risk weightage. Okay, 1.8 is the weightage on medium risk loans. And 2.8 weightage is given on the high risk loans and investment. Must be 35 crores. Okay. So therefore, again, plus 35 crores into how much? It is 2.8 into 100. Clear? So now, what would be the capital? Capital in the numerator is 2 crores, and multiply these three terms, and that would be put together. It comes around, it comes exactly 170. Okay, multiply these two numbers and put it here. Again, multiply these two numbers and put it here, and 35 into 2.5, put it here, and add these three numbers. You will get 170 into 100. Clear? So it's approximately it would be 2%. 2% risk weightage. Okay, risk capital adequacy ratio is approximately 2%. Capital adequacy ratio approximately 2%. What would be the Basel norms? As per the Basel norms, what would be the capital adequacy ratio? Capital adequacy ratio must be 8% as per the Basel norms, and 9% has been fixed by RBI. Okay, then so what we have to do here? So here, for 2 crores investment, for 2 crores, risk capital adequacy ratio would be 2%. That is here. Correct? Capital adequacy ratio for 2 crores we have calculated, it is 2%, right? It is 2%. Okay. So now, what would be the loss? Okay, what would be the loss of the company? Loss of the company is 10 crores, right? Okay, so here capital adequacy ratio is how much? If the capital adequacy ratio is 10 to 12%, what would be the risk? What would be the capital adequacy ratio? That we need to find out. Yeah. Okay. So if, for example, for 12 crores, for 12 crores, for 12 crores, for 12 crores capital adequacy ratio, so there will be 6%. 6% is the approximately capital adequacy ratio must be 6% for 12 crores, because for 2 crores capital adequacy ratio is 2%. For 12 crores it is 6%. Yeah. Suppose as per the RBI norms, RBI norms, how much? It is 9%. 9% for 18 crores. Okay, 9 RBI norms is 9% for 18 crores. Clear? With this example, we come to know that therefore capital adequacy ratio must be 18 crores in this case. But what would be the capital adequacy? What is the actual capital adequacy ratio that we have maintained? Just only 2 crores. Okay, so lot of difference, much difference. 18 crores capital, adequate capital we have to keep as reserves if there is any loss for the bank. So if loans are increases, if the bad loans are increases, CAR will come down. Correct? CR will come down. Capital adequacy ratio will come down. If the loans are increases, if the loans and advances made by the banker is more loans or advances are given by the banker, obviously capital adequacy ratio will come down. Risk is associated with risky loans, right? If the loans are secured loans, there will be no problem at all. As I mentioned, if the banker has given the loans or advances against the collateral, then there will be no problem, right? So therefore, if there is a risk for the banker, there will be more risky loans. There is a lot of loss for the banker. Is that clear? So for 2 crores, capital adequacy ratio is 2%. For 12 crores, capital adequacy ratio is 6%. As per the RBI norms, we need to maintain 9% of capital adequacy ratio is 9%. For 9% of capital adequacy ratio, 18 crores we need to maintain, right? So this is what, so how do we calculate? You understood very well, I think so. Okay, done. Thank you very much.